Okay, please stand for the pledge. Thank you. James, do you mind taking attendance, please?
Certainly. President Schaefer,
Here?
Vice President Dr. Reese,
Present.
and Secretary Summers here, Treasurer Hanser,
Present.
wonderful, Trustee McDonough,
Here.
and Trustee Schultz.
Here.
Trustee Whitney.
Here.
Wonderful.
Changes to the board agenda?
I have none.
Okay, and there were no scheduled public comments for the agenda items turned in.
There were not.
So we'll move right on to consent agenda. We've got the minutes from the September 26th meeting, our bills payable for September, as well as our human resources update. Can I have a motion for the consent agenda? Like to read it, Colleen?
Sure. Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support? Mary? Discussion? None? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to human resources, Mrs. Reed. She's got a phone call coming in.
Hello, good evening, and I have Mr. Chad Urchek here with me from the Michigan Department of Education. Chad, we are live now, up to the mic, if you would like to say your piece.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hello?
I'm Chad from the Michigan Department of Education, and it's Section 160 of the State School Aid Act that brings us here tonight. When a district requires Labor Day waiver, state law requires that the district have a meeting in conjunction with that waiver before we can actually officially approve the waiver. And there are a couple of reasons behind the public hearing. The first is that it allows the district to present on the goals of the waiver. And second, it also allows the public to provide any comment directly related to the waiver. And with that, I think we can go ahead and move forward with the presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, Chad. And board, my apologies for not bringing this to you sooner. This is something that was done in June of 2019, I believe, and it was a 3-year waiver. So my apologies for being a bit behind on bringing this to you, but in working with Chad and the Michigan Department of Education, we will be able to have this approved retroactively for the start of the 23-24 school year. So moving forward, this will be done in the beginning of the summer to ensure that we meet our timeline. So the waiver objectives you see here, we have a short presentation, but this is really to align courses, the sequence of courses for our students who are enrolled in our early middle college program. We anticipate fewer dropped courses and better overall student outcomes. So I worked with Mark Suckley on this as well, and when our early middle college staff and students work together before and during the first weeks of school at the college level, the trends lean towards success. And Mark and his team do a great job of tracking all of that data and keeping us up to date. They collect progress data and final grade data to see trends and develop strategies to continually improve the program. On the next page, you can see our dual enrollment with community college and the start dates for all of our programs. So we have Macomb Community, Lawrence Tech, Rochester University for on-campus and online, and then our junior and senior level courses, Washtenaw Community College and Mott Community College. And Mr. Suckley runs one of the biggest programs in the state for the early middle college, so a big point of pride for our district, and that is why we've had the waiver for a number of years to continue his progress and growth for our students. Are there any questions?
I just have a quick one, actually.
Yeah.
So we've been starting prior to Labor Day for about 5-6 years. Is
Yes.
that correct? And I understand about half of the districts in Michigan do and half do not. Was there a survey done of our community when we implemented this? And do you happen to know the results of that?
I don't know
Okay.
about a survey, but I can definitely go back and check our notes and also confer with Mark about that. I know that we've had the waiver as long as we've had the early middle college program, just to have that continuity and start date for our students and community college. But I can definitely look into that and see if we've had a survey or any communication historically.
Okay, Thanks.
I think just a comment too, from a legislative standpoint, if you guys aren't aware, there's actually a bill to take away the waiver, and it's in the Senate right now, and that is just due to 80% of the schools in the state of Michigan do the waiver, and it has become a lot of paperwork for districts to do if 80% are gonna elect to go ahead.
If that happens, do you know, would it fall back onto the original law that schools must start after Labor Day? Or
No.
would they change the law
They
entirely?
changed the law, so it would be, they could choose,
Okay.
but no later than Labor Day. So it'd
Okay.
be still a choice to the district, so those who choose to start at Labor Day would still be able to do such.
Okay.
But districts like ours who have elected to do earlier start dates would not have to do so much paperwork.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's nothing further, Chad, are we able to approve the waiver retroactively?
Yeah, so, everyone from the public has had a chance to speak to the waiver?
Okay, do we have any public comment? We do not have any public comment.
Okay. Yes, I can let you know that the department has approved the waiver for another 3 years, starting this year.
Okay,
What that means is the district can start school before Labor Day during that 3-year period at your discretion, as long as you continue to offer the early middle college program that was outlined in the application.
okay,
You will receive an official approval in your email tomorrow, so watch for that. But and this is certainly not the first time we have issued an approval retroactively, so there's really no need to be concerned about that. You had met the requirement, so this is simply a formality. So that should take care of it.
okay, thank you so much,
Thank
Chad.
you, Chad.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Have a good night.
You
Yep.
too, bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay. Moving right along, superintendent's report.
Yes, I have a last-minute report. I thought of it today. Today is National Mental Health Day, and we have a large portion of our recovery plan dedicated to mental health and social-emotional learning, and we've actually done even a little more refining and updating since you last saw it, and I thought it would just be good today to give it another look at it, pay it some attention, because we do an awful lot in the area of mental health and social emotional learning, which is of great benefit to our kids, and in the long run, it's what brings us academic achievement, you know? When kids feel good about things, they learn a whole lot better. So I'd like to just go, I'm not going to go over the whole document, I know I'm not, but I would like to just go over the objectives that we had in this section of the recovery plan. This year, we added a new objective, which was to improve overall attendance and a sense of student belonging through a district-created campaign. And you saw that when you were part of the opening day of school in the whole You Matter campaign. And we're going to be collecting, you can see action steps relative to that goal and objectives, and you can see the evidence and metrics that we're going to be collecting. We also want to strengthen our school support teams all around our multi-tiered systems of support. And I've mentioned to you before that I've worked in a lot of schools where this system of support has been put in place. And here in Oxford, and I think it was Mr. Ken Weaver who grounded it for you, it is a well-grounded program, and it has done nothing but grow and be enhanced over the years. It's a very strong program. In fact, right now we have 3 of our staff members who were invited to Washington, D.C. to present at a conference at the conference's expense, not ours, what we're doing relative to our multi-tiered systems of support so that we can share what we're doing with other schools. Anita's going to be bringing us a report along with Todd and other people who work in this arena, and with more data later on, because it's something I know you've asked about it, Amanda. Of course, what haven't you asked about, Amanda? You've asked about it and others have asked about it, and so we'll be bringing you a report on that. Obviously, we're keeping going with the therapy dogs because we love them. You know, they're a great help, but even if they weren't, they're so cute. We're going to keep them. Our SEL lessons, you know, were piloted last year. Now we have to implement them with consistency and and that's going to be going on. PBIS is the core of where kids learn civility, learn to control, learn to enjoy within appropriate guidelines, and that's going to be growing with us as well. You know, last year we really upped our efforts on bully prevention, and that's going to continue through this year. And then you know that Todd has begun to put together his youth action board, and I think that's going to be coming along fine this year. And trauma. Todd tells me that today we trained 18 staff people today in trauma-informed school practices, and we're going to be spreading that throughout our district. And of course, our restorative practice keeps going. So I wanted to bring this to you just so that you could kind of see this district is really doing a lot. We've done a lot. We're continuing to do more in the social-emotional learning and mental health realm. And that's why I bring it to your attention today. Any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts?
Mary?
Thanks. I'd just like to share a comment. Before, it was last year when we were doing the candidate forums, a community member had come up to me and asked me about social emotional learning and said, why do we need social emotional learning, and we're taking away from the students? And I explained to them the value of social emotional learning and how we can't increase student achievement if the kids' basic needs aren't being met, if they are unable to process what is going on around them, and explain to them how it's becoming such an important part of our all-around curriculum. It's not a class that people go to learn something, but it's integrated we're integrating into all of our curriculum, and it's I think it's really making a difference. I really appreciate the time and energy that we are spending on this, because this is really the fundamentals of learning. So thank you, and thank you for the great report. Appreciate being able to see all the details.
Right. Well, and we will be bringing you quarterly updates of how we're accomplishing these things and what's actually getting done along the way. Thank you.
Okay, great. Moving on to Section 7, Board of Education Matters. We've got the OHS Band Orchestra Field Trip. We talked a little bit about that last time to Disney World. Would anybody like to read that? Erin?
Move to approve the OHS Band Orchestra field trip request to Disney World in Orlando, Florida, November 2024.
Support? Mary? Any discussion? I know we had Jim here last time. Asked him some questions, got a lot of information. Any other further discussion? Colleen?
Just a brief comment. It's really nice to see that this is continuing. It's just such
Getting
a
back
great
on track,
opportunity
exactly.
for kids and for our families. And I did not have any band kids, but I did have a daughter that tagged along with a band family one time, and she just loved it. She raved about what a fun time it was. So I'm glad to see that we're still doing this for our kids.
I also Jim asked me to tell you that he apologizes for not being here tonight. They had a prior commitment, an appointment that he and his wife had to attend, but he promises you'll be here next meeting, but perhaps you don't need to wait to approve this.
Right. Anything else? Okay. Let's move it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 0. Tell Mr. Gibbons it passes. He'll be excited. All you band kids, get your ears ordered. They're so excited about this trip. I know a lot of band families, and this is a big deal. They fundraise and stuff, and it's a big deal. It's a big honor too to play down there. So, and then we've got the OHS varsity baseball field trip request that was in the board pack. That's not on the table to vote on today, but that was in our board pack. And then the
Heather, can I just ask a question about that? And I don't know that, Vicki, I just thought about it when I was sitting here. So if I understand it correctly, we just pay for the fields. Everybody gets down there. Any kid who wants
That's correct.
to go
Yes.
gets down there with their family on their
Right.
own.
That's correct.
Stay with their families on
Yep,
their own.
okay.
Yeah.
That's what, I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly. Okay, thank you.
Yes. Anything else about the trip, the baseball trip? No? Okay. Item C, under Board of Education matters is the superintendent search, the RFP. Vicki offered us a template. Last week, we briefly kind of talked about that. I had asked all of you to take a look at that, let me know if you had any revisions or comments, also to let me know if you were interested in maybe being on the committee. The committee is not a committee that gets voted on, it's a committee that gets appointed, hopefully by volunteers that are interested, so we were lucky to get a couple of those. But let's move on to the recommendation and then we can discuss it further. Anybody want to read that? Erin, please.
Move to approve the request for proposals from the superintendent search firms as presented.
Support? Amanda? Okay, discussion. So let's discuss that a bit. I'll get that out here. That's my old one. Okay. So first of all, so we did have a couple of people, so I'd like to formally appoint Colleen Schultz, Amanda McDonough, and Mike Whitney to the committee. This committee's role, I'll kind of go over that a little bit publicly so that everybody's aware of what that role is going to be. We are going to place out an RFP, which is a request for proposal. We're basically asking for businesses to come in and solicit our business to prepare a scope of work on what their services are and how they can service our superintendent search. This committee, those responses will all initially get funneled to Angela Weaver, who's our board secretary, and at the board office, and she will compile those together, and she will, after the deadline date has passed, she will compile them and give them to the committee. The committee will then, I'm just giving an example, say there's 10 companies. Your initial job will be to make sure that those 10 companies have met the basic requirements. Did they include a cover letter? Was it on the due date? Did they include a scope of work? Did they the basic parameters of what we asked to be included in the RFP? So say you might weed out a couple that time. Maybe two didn't include several pieces of that. You'll whittle it down, if you will. You'll weed it down. And so that is really you guys' job, is then to, when you have your, say, 7, I'm just throwing these numbers out there. I have no idea who's responding. But say you have 7, then you guys amongst the 3 kind of decide how you're going to work that. And we will give you some rubrics and some ways to qualify these companies. And I'm going to say the word interview, but you're going to reach out to them, introduce yourselves, split it up, talk about it amongst yourselves, figure out how to do it, and kind of qualify those firms. Obviously, if it's a company that has only recruited for medical personnel, even if they met all the qualifications, they're probably going to be a company that might not be qualified to serve us. I mean, that's the kind of things you guys are going to figure out as you screen them and go through that process. And then you're going to come back to the board and kind of give us a short list and explain kind of how you got to this short list and things like that. But everything comes back to the board, and then we'll discuss as a board, and then we'll vote on whom we pick as our search firm. And then it would be up to you guys to also then go back to those companies and say, we either picked you, or thank you for responding, but we did or didn't pick you, and kind of close the door on that communication. Yep. So
I have a
Go ahead.
question. I remember it. So we will get the RFP going, get the companies. You want us to come back?
we kind of got the RFP going
Yes,
this
sorry,
past
I'm
2
sorry,
weeks.
yes,
Yep.
right here.
So that's a check.
Yeah. So you want us to come back with the recommendation, or you want us to come back with all the companies and then the
Final
board?
Just a final list.
Okay.
But kind of a report, like you might say something, I mean, I think everybody would like to know, by the way, we got 12 companies that responded.
Yes, yes.
3 initially didn't meet numerous qualifications, so they kind of didn't really get in the pool.
Right.
But 6 or 7 did, and we called them and referenced them, and So I think that we'd probably be all interested to know a report back, if you will. And then, yes, you'll, recommend, hopefully there's at least, 3 that we can at least review and look at.
And typically you bring that 3 or 2 or 4, however many it is, you typically, and the date is in your RFP for November 14th, you typically have them come and actually present to the whole board so that the whole board gets to meet the finalists. And then the whole board makes a decision on which of the finalists they would select to actually be the firm. So, and hopefully then that selection would be at the November 28th board meeting. So the timeline, once, and for this RFP, there'll actually be a rubric so that every company will be evaluated consistently by the same rubric. And I know you've not been involved in evaluating RFPs before because they've typically been for services of security firms, or they've been for buying new buses, or they've been for things that we do for you. But it'll be that same kind of process where there will be a rubric by which you evaluate every firm, and then there'll be a set of reference checks with questions that go along with it, and then you'll come up with your final recommendations to the board. And then the board will get to see however many are in that final pool. That's kind of how it goes, right?
I think so.
So, yeah, I just want to kind of say that I'm really excited about the 3 committee members. I think it's a great balance. I'm really happy that we have Colleen on there because she's been through this process a couple times or more. And
Yep.
so that's really going to help, and I think that it'll also help Mike and I through this process. And so I think I just wanted to say that I'm glad that we are doing this with a committee. And what I'm kind of envisioning, is that once we weed out the initial ones that wouldn't qualify, that we kind of break it up as to if there's 6, each of us pick 2 and call and kind of form our own judgments and opinions, and then come together and really narrow it down so that we have a comprehensive report. Does that sound about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Heather.
You're welcome. I'd like to appoint Colleen as the chairperson of the committee. She's got a lot of experience. She's done several superintendent searches and I think can help answer a lot of your questions. And if not, then you guys can come to myself or Vicki, or, then we can go from there, or call MASB even, or whatever. Okay? Yes.
And just a reminder to everybody too, this is just the first step. This is to get the firm, the superintendent search firm.
Right.
Then we're gonna start talking about
Right.
the actual superintendent search.
Right.
So thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so thank you all for taking this piece on. Thank you.
Okay. So we discussed it. Let's move on to, is there any more discussion? I'm sorry.
I wanted to add, thank you to Angela and Vicki and whoever else was working on this. My comments came late, and I do apologize. So thank you for incorporating some of the things I had shared. So thank you very much, Angela. I appreciate you.
It was an Angela thing. Anybody else? No? And thank you for stepping up and offering to be on the committee. Appreciate it. It's a great learning experience. Okay, let's move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to section D, which is the first reading of the policy updates. So I think first we have to approve them, right? Right. Okay. Does anybody want to read that? Okay, Mary? Sorry.
Move to approve the first reading of policies 2623, student assessment, 6325, procurement, federal grants, funds, 8400, school safety information, 1615, use of tobacco by administrators, 3215, use of tobacco by professional staff, 4215, use of tobacco by support staff, 5512, use of tobacco by students, 7434, use of tobacco on school premises, 9160, public attendance at school events, 7540.02, web accessibility, content, apps, and services. 7540.03, student technology, acceptable use and safety. 7540.04, staff technology, acceptable use and safety. 8315, information management.
Okay, thank you. Support? Erin? Discussion. So, somebody from the policy kind of want to go through each one, just give a brief explanation of what happened or what you guys did, please?
I can, unless you wanted to, Mary? Okay. So we'll start with 2623, student assessment. And I just want to kind of preemptively say that these were all largely Neola updates.
Okay.
So a lot of the changes that you see here, all of the green highlights, are straight from Neola.
Okay.
We didn't really change a lot in any of these policies aside from grammatical. There were a couple redundancies, like if you see on section A where they had grades 3 through 8, they listed it in parentheses, but then they also listed 3-8, and so
Oh,
it
okay.
just was redundant. So if you don't mind, I'll just go through
Yep.
and let you know that for this policy for student assessment, we did have a couple of questions during policy committee meeting that were answered. I think at one point we called half the cabinet down.
That's
And,
okay.
But we did get all of our questions answered, and we are all good with moving forward with the revisions as they are worded.
Okay.
So, student assessment, the next one, 6325, procurement. This is dealing with when you accept federal grants. The main change here is due to the fact that all federally funded contracts in excess of $2,000 must comply with the Davis-Bacon prevailing wage requirements, which, yeah.
It's contracts for construction, alteration, or repair of public buildings or public works, so it's specific,
Okay.
federally grant funded.
Right. Okay.
And let's see, moving on, 8400. Allison helped us a lot with this one and understanding and the changes that were made. I guess the main points in this one were that the district designates Allison, that mouthful of a title, as the liaison to work with the School Safety Commission, which she informed us that she has been. And that's all been going well. And the other change was for the board authorizing the superintendent to create building-level trained threat assessment team, and each team shall be headed by a school administrator, at least one school-based mental health professional, and a school resource officer. On to the next. 1615, use of tobacco by administrators. And if we want to just kind of lump this all together, the next, yeah, there's 5 policies that discuss this. And again, it's all the same. Neola has added some changes, such as designating that electric smoking devices count as tobacco, and all of their legal requirements. And it is not allowed on any district property. Yes, yes. And the fact that you can't accept money or gifts from the tobacco industry as administrator or professional staff. Of course, the students. And
Some of the wording here was changed to bring the policies more into sync with the State Department of Health's, what do they call it, the tobacco section, mission, vision, where they're trying to get everybody on the same page, talking about it the same way, using the same terminology. So we're working work within state guidelines too, and be giving the same message to all of our community. In the words of Yul Brynner, don't smoke.
All right, moving on, 9160, public attendance at school events. Also adds in the tobacco product mention that you may not have it on or use on school grounds. And 7540.02, web accessibility content apps and services. This one, we consulted with Sash as to why some of the changes were in, and he agreed with all of Neola updates. Next, 7540.03, student technology, acceptable use and safety. This was also an update. Obviously, the technology world is constantly evolving, and so our policies must meet that. And so this is a good comprehensive policy that meets the more current terminology. Same thing with the next policy, 7540.04. So the first one was in regards to students. This one is in regards to staff, acceptable use of technology. And lastly, 8315, information management. This was, again, Neola change. And let's see. Yep, that one was also approved as a.
Record or something?
I'm sorry?
Is this about student records?
So this is about the records retention.
Okay.
So it's about everything, any kind of digital record, you think like before everything was paper record. Now, as we move to like Navigate 360, all the stuff that's in there from what's included with it, how it's incorporated and stuff. And so as things move from like paper or physical stuff to digitalized or digitized, the policy falls in line with that. And you'll see things in here like zip disk, which aren't relevant anymore nowadays, but it's still, potential places where we might actually have data or information that needs to have the policies in place for it.
Okay. Good work, okay. It is a lot of work being on the council committee, it's a lot to go over. Thank you very much. Any further discussion from the explanations? Anybody want to comment on anything, or ask any of the policy people again, are Mary and Amanda and James, anybody want to ask them any questions about any of that?
How much do you love policy?
I love policy.
I love policy too.
Not lying. Okay, all right, we'll move to a vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Moving on to finance and operations, Mr. Varna. Thought he wasn't gonna have to come tonight.
I knew it all along. No, I'm just kidding. I really didn't. What you have in front of you in the board pack under finance and operations is our 2023-24 summer tax levy. We do this annually. It is due to all municipalities that we levy with throughout the year by December 31st of this year. That's why you have it in front of you. And again, this is to levy everything that the district levies in terms of debt, as well as operating millages as well.
Okay, so we're not voting on it, but if anybody has any questions, this would be a good time.
Yeah.
To ask him, because he's here. So especially if you're not familiar with it, I remember asking him a ton of questions. I didn't even really kind of get what it was my first couple years. From a board perspective, I knew it was from a taxpayer, but it's different. Yeah, it's different when you're on the other end, making sure you understand it. Any questions?
So, Sam, if you could you just give us a brief overview of why we have to go through this process to collect the
Yeah,
taxes?
the municipalities that we levy with, they require this every year. By the end of the year, it's basically preparing them for the following summer's tax rolls, just so they have an idea of who will be levying. I mean, they have a very good indication that we're going to continue our summer levy, but there could be a board vote to decide in the future that maybe we want to do a full winter collection. However, 80% of our taxes currently, over 80%, are collected in the summertime. So,
Right.
yeah, and again, this is not just, our operating mills, which are just under 18 mills for the district, but it's also our debt, as an example, as well. So yes, that's what it all encompasses. An average operating mill, like what would it bring in? Well, like in a sinking fund, as an example, one mill would be approximately $1.4, $1.5 million at our current tax roll. That's approximately 1 mill.
Sorry about that, I'm sorry. I had it on and then I think I turned it off. Okay. Anybody else? Comments or questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on to, Dr. Williman, Safety and School Operations.
Here for the school choice vote.
Okay, that's right. Everybody got the memo in the board packet? Okay. Anybody we've got a couple different recommendations for action. Would anybody like to be the reader? They can read all of them. Anyone? Aaron?
Move to approve the 2023-2024 school year second semester trimester dates. Kindergarten through fifth grade unlimited seating, school of choice enrollment will open November 7th, 2023 and close November 21st, 2023 for seated. Oxford Middle School 6th through 8th and Oxford High School 9th unlimited seated, school of choice enrollment will open January 7th, 2024 and close January 21st, 2024 for seated. Oxford Virtual Academy K through 11th virtual school of choice enrollment will be open January 7th, 2024 and close January 21st, 2024 for virtual.
Thank you. Can I have support for that, please? James? Any discussion or questions about school of choice? No? Okay, let's move to a vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Unscheduled public comment? None today? Okay. Okay, next is scheduled activities. We've got our next conversation for coffee happening next Thursday at 6 at the library. Who's planning on going?
Thursday.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
It would be Mike and James and I think Aaron.
I will be out of town.
Okay.
Remember, I'm flying out tomorrow.
Oh, that's right, for the wedding.
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
I thought you volunteered. Well, you
I,
could just
I,
give up the wedding.
yeah, right? Yeah, non-refundable. So if someone would like to go in my place, my seat's open. Or,
So,
I'll be at the November one, for sure.
Okay.
so we can do it with two?
Yeah,
unless there's
yeah,
a
we don't
third-
have to have
unless
three.
there's a third
Yep,
person who wants
that's fine.
to be with us on Thursday.
Okay. We'll say Mike and Aaron. Of course, if somebody else wants to go, they're welcome to go. Yep.
How did the first one go?
Wonderful.
Good, great. Good, good.
Okay, and so obviously there's other scheduled activities as well. Our next board meeting, the following conversation for coffee, Thanksgiving break, believe it or not, already coming up, things like that. So take a look at your calendar and put those in.
I have a quick question on the November coffee. Was that being rescheduled?
It was being rescheduled. Is this the, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Is this
It
the
was
new
being
date?
rescheduled. This is the new date,
Okay.
correct, Angela? Yes, this is the
Okay.
new date.
Okay. Okay, administrative clarifications,
I have none.
final board comments.
Ju-
Mike?
Just that the coffee of the board members is at the library. I don't know if that was mentioned, but it's from 6 to 7:30 at the library this
Okay.
time. I don't know that we have an actual room reserved right now?
I think it's meeting room A.
Meeting room A? B?
Oh, B, it's one of them.
I confirmed today, they're expecting you.
Okay. I just know it's in the library. That's what I have in my calendar.
And we'll have signage at the library.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say thank you to Debbie Fox, who is not here today because she is retiring. Debbie has done a tremendous job for our district in technology and helping people get into their Power School and their emails, and helping, for years, she has helped parents and students figure out all this stuff. And she's been wonderful. She's always been a great help to me, and I just wanted to wish Debbie well and thank her for all of her fantastic service to this community and the district.
Yes. When is her last day?
It was last
Oh, it
week.
already was.
It already was.
Oh.
We had the luncheon, we had the goodbye. She left a big full bowl of candy for us.
Yes, she does have
in-
good
in
candy.
her- In her absence, and she's finally retired. I think she's tried this several times.
She
and
has.
This time it took.
Yep.
so.
Yep, good for her. Well deserved.
And she stayed so that Barb Massey is taking over the power. As I told you, we reorganized the duties, part of our look at budget and how we could get work done differently. And Barb has taken it on, and Deb stayed long enough so that we could get full transition training. It went very smoothly.
Yeah, and Barb will do great. Okay. If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn. Thank you.